What's going on, YouTube, Facebook? It's RDAP Dan, Federal Prison Time Consulting. Hope you guys are all having an awesome Wednesday. Happy hump day. As you can see, we have a guest with us today. We have a good friend and former employer of mine, Casey Cochran. How are you doing, Casey?
I'm doing very well. Thanks, man. I'm happy to be here from my chateau in Vale. I play the piano. I didn't know if you knew that, but I play the piano.
This guy.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to be talking about some different stuff. Today, we're going to be talking about felons getting jobs after prison, and not just from the perspective of how hard it is as a felon, but what it's like as an employer. So many of you, maybe I've told you this before, maybe you don't remember. My very first job after finishing my federal prison sentence, once I got to the halfway house, was actually getting a job for Fit Food Fresh, which Casey is one of the co-founders of Fit Food Fresh in Boca Raton. And as you can see, I've actually got my Fit Food Fresh attire on tonight.
Yeah, I feel like a jerk. I wish I had like some RDAP Dan stuff.
A jerk.
I didn't come prepared.
It's all right. We'll let you be the jerk tonight. So we're going to let Casey talk a little bit about what that was like. But before we jump into that, as always, take a moment, guys. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, take a moment, subscribe to my channel. Also, don't forget, for those of you that like to receive the text messages, if you haven't done so already, as you'll see here popping up on the bottom of the screen, all you need to do is text the word YouTube to 76626. That will put you on our text message notification system. So every time we go live, you'll get a text message about 30 minutes before we go live, when we run specials, things like that. It'll give you a heads up. Also, for those of you that are very interested and would like to become a member of our upcoming private Facebook group, which Casey's actually going to be helping me with that. Also, you can very simply, to get notification of when that Facebook group goes live, which should be probably within the next couple of days to maybe week tops, all you need to do is text the letters FB for Facebook, FB to 76626. That will put you on a separate list. So the minute that Facebook group goes live, we'll send you a link with instructions how you can join the private Facebook group. It is a members only. We're going to be giving to a select few. We're going to give a free 30-day membership. That way you can get in there. You can see what's going on. We're going to have awesome free content. We're going to be giving away some free consulting services. We're also going to be doing at least once a month. We're going to be doing with Tom Root a free compassionate release services. So you're really going to be able to get your bang for your buck in there. So definitely come over and join that. Now, something very important I want to talk about real quick before we let Casey talk here. Casey also has a YouTube channel, guys. He's almost at 1,000 subscribers. Here, let me give you a view of Casey's YouTube channel here. He's almost at 1,000 subscribers.
There's 983, but who's counting?
You are, obviously. Here, let me share the screen so you can see what Casey's got going on over here. So do me a favor. There's a link right here, which I'm going to post in the comment section right now. It's also in the description of the video. We have a goal tonight, and it's to help Casey hit his 1,000 subscribers tonight. So I know you guys are awesome. I just posted a link in the live chat. It's also on Facebook. If you guys do me a favor, go check out Casey's channel. He's got a ton of videos over here. It's all about meal prep businesses for individuals that are out there trying to start their own meal prep business, or they have interest in a meal prep business, or maybe it's not necessarily something you're super interested in. But as you can see, video number 3, he actually did a video and interviewed me, hiring ex-cons. So you guys can go hop over there and watch an interview I did on Casey's channel. So do me a favor, guys. I'm going to keep reminding you throughout this entire video. I'm going to be like an annoying broken record. Go subscribe to Casey's channel. We're going to hit his 1,000 subscribers, and I'm going to take all the credit. But really, it's all because of you guys. So,
is this where I tell him to swipe up?
Yeah, something like that. Swipe up.
Swipe up, and then we dance, right? I know social media.
All right. So we'll
come
back to that in a little bit. We're going to ignore that. We're going to come back to that in a little bit. Casey, I got out of prison the end of 2015. You decided to give me a job. Now, Fit Food Fresh is a Boca Raton, Florida company. And I'll let Casey talk a little bit about Fit Food Fresh in a second. Fit Food Fresh is a Boca Raton company. I was released from prison in Spokane, Washington, clear across 3,000 miles away. Casey was willing to give me a job, and there was definitely some hurdles And just because Casey was my friend doesn't mean he was just necessarily ready to give me a job. There was some definite concerns that he had, legitimate concerns, partners to deal with. So Casey, take us through a little bit of what that was like before I was actually able to start my job. And feel free to talk as much as you like about Fit Food Fresh as well.
Okay. Yeah. Fit Food Fresh is a delivery meal plan company, as Dan mentioned. There we go. That's a pretty website. We actually are going to be replacing this website shortly, even though this one's beautiful, but we've got a even more impressive one coming. But we deliver healthy meals to people across South Florida. It's basically pre-made meals, as you'd see. One of the big things with our service is the customer service and the quality of the food. We tout ourselves as being on the higher end of services like this. And I'm sure there's some in your area, but a lot of people are familiar with the meal prep business now. So part of that is having really good customer service. So that's actually what Dan was helping us with. He had a background in, we worked together in a call center before. So as he said, we knew each other before. So that definitely helped him. I'd say there were two factors that led to me being very open-minded to this. One was the fact that I already knew Dan, and I trusted him. I did have to deal with my business partner, and I'll talk about that. And then the other one is because Dan and I had already done work release programs in the past. So I had a general idea of how they worked. We hired some guys, and I don't know if we got lucky or what, but the guys that we hired ended up being pretty solid guys. So I had a positive experience with doing it in the past. I believe it was actually one of Dan's ideas at the time. So that was, it kind of helped him later on convince me, because then I was able to also, when I had to convince my business partner to let me experiment, and I had to put my neck on the line for this. But, those were some of our concerns was, working with Dan. It's not so much that, or let me finish my thought. I was able to use that positive experience to help convince my business partner. It's like, listen, we already did this before. That's why I think it's a good idea. And I mentioned how we had a guy, Nick. He was our manager, and he was actually from one of these work release programs. He earned his way up there, and he was someone who we trusted, completely. So convincing my business partner, again, Dan knowing me beforehand definitely helped, because some of my concerns were, and I hope people watching this, are, going to be more open-minded about this, because it is a lot of people who don't know people who have been through the program, through the system, who have been to prison. Seems like a scary thing, hiring someone out of prison. And I was able to interact with these people and realize, like, oh, because I don't know people, and not everybody knows someone who's been through prison. Like, I know people's dads who have been through prison. They got busted for pot or something like that. And you find that out in high school, and you think it's like a kind of cool thing. But that's about it. As far as, a lot of circles, if you don't have someone who who's been to prison, then you might have that natural kind of, resistance against the idea. So convincing my business partner, I could completely see what his perspective was, because it's probably one that I would have had, years prior. But the one of the main hurdles, I remember his objections were, even though I knew Dan, and it was like, theoretically, let's say we can trust Dan and this is going to be good. What happens if he has some kind of issue with probation, or he has to be taken, off? He's not able to work for some reason. He gets in trouble for something at the home. He actually did get in trouble. I remember there was that one time he got in trouble for some stupid stuff about the vending machine. And it's so like,
it sounds stupid when you say it, but the reality is
I see their point. I do see their point, but it's like, you'd expect human beings. I guess we could explain that story, but you'd expect some human beings to be part of the process. But I understand it's a slippery slope and all that. It was a silly situation, and Dan was unable to work for us until it was resolved. And it was something where, my memory serves, there was a surveillance camera that captured everything. And it was basically someone broke the vending machine to the point where the glass was open. You could just reach in and grab something. The vending machine was also broken. So when it ate somebody else's dollar, they probably got pissed and punched it and broke it. And then you came up not knowing, going, I want to get me some chips, put $1 in, it eats your dollar as well. And then you're just like, well, chips are 75 cents. I put $1 in, I'm going to take the chips. And the whole thing was, you were supposed to report it to us, not just take the chips and go on your way. So I do see their point in that. But because of that, Dan wasn't able to work for us for a week. So that was one real thing that it was a concern of my business partner. I did have to convince him over that. To my chagrin, it ended up, being something that happened. It was kind of like, I told you so, but it was still overall a great experience. And it's something that I'm definitely open to again. But those were the hurdles, being honest.
Yeah, and Kimberly's talking right now. She said, my husband worries every day what he's going to do for legit work when he gets released and comes home. Planning for things like this now is really the key ingredient, and not getting this simplistic thought in your mind that I'm just going to get out and I'm going to go get this amazing job. One of the other hurdles that Casey wasn't the one that actually took that call. I think it was one of the other managers in the office in Florida. But when you're living in the federal halfway house, before they let you have a job, they actually need to verify your employment, and not just verify. They literally need to go talk to your manager. They bring a piece of paper to your manager. They make your manager sign basically a contract saying, I understand that Dan Wise was in federal prison. I understand this is how long he was there for. I understand this is what his crime was. I understand the risk that I'm taking by hiring Mr. Wise, and I still want to hire him after you just made me sign this really scary piece of paper. So for somebody getting out of federal prison who already has this kind of browbeaten view on life, well, I'm a felon, I don't know what to do, I don't really know where to start. Now I'm living in a federal halfway house. I have to explain this to my possible employer. And now, in addition to all of that, somebody from the halfway house needs to go out and get them to sign something, where it's really creating all of these roadblocks where it becomes real easy for you to say, fuck it, I'm not going to try to get a job. I'm just going to go back to criminal activity. So there's going to be a lot of roadblocks and a lot of hurdles. I was real fortunate to get a job working with Fit Food Fresh because, as many of you know, and I don't even know if Casey knows this completely. Casey, do you know that my YouTube channel was birthed working for you?
I remember you telling me that when you got out, you checked your YouTube channel. And I remember when you were telling me like, oh yeah, I've just been like answering questions, but I didn't really, I was just like, I don't know. I didn't really think too much of it. I was like, oh, cool. That's a cool little hobby. YouTube, I wasn't really familiar with. I didn't even really use YouTube as a consumer that much at that time. I was just like, I remember thinking, YouTube's dead, but that's cute. And now look at you.
Yeah, it was wild. And, if it wasn't working for Casey, being I was on the West Coast, he was on the East Coast, and they kept me on the clock till about 9 p.m. West Coast time. 9 p.m. West Coast time, which was 6 p.m. East Coast. They kept me there late to try to take some of these inbound calls that would come in. And it was so slow by that time of day. By 3 o'clock, it would slow down on the East Coast. So I had all of this spare time to start creating content and creating videos and answering a lot of the questions. So it really, if it wasn't for having this ideal situation, and look, there's always going to be a form of luck involved, guys. You can have all the best planning in the world. And if it wasn't for a little bit of luck and a lot of sweat and a lot of hard work, I don't know what I'd be doing right now. Because if I had taken a different job where I didn't have any free time at all, who knows if I ever even would have gotten the itch to create the YouTube content and the YouTube videos. So Casey really did create that. Casey, as an employer, for somebody out there that's maybe considering either hiring potential felons that are coming out of prison or that are in a halfway house or some sort of a transitional center like that, what is some advice you would potentially tell somebody to look into? And also, what would you want to see from a possible employee if they're coming into interview? What are some things that you would be looking for somebody that might be looking for a potential job from both sides, from an employer and from a prospect?
Well, one thing I wanted to actually say before I get to that, I had a thought, and Kim asked the question. Assuming that a lot of you who are watching this are going into prison, and I don't know when the timeline is or what that looks like, or even if there's a certainty of it or what, but I would start building your network now before you go in. Volunteer, somehow get involved with a group of people, make connections with people, maybe confide in them and then be honest about your situation. Once they get to know you and they're just like, okay, Jeff's a pretty good guy. Make that network now so that maybe when you get out, someone who's already familiar with your situation can, be that first step. Because really all you need is that one interview to go well and you get that first job. Then you have a resume or something, and then you're out of the system, and then it's kind of behind you. And psychologically, I think getting that first job is going to be the most powerful one, because it shows you're going to have this feeling. I'm sure there's like a feeling of like redemption and like being, tainted from society, not being able to be accepted back, and everybody's going to know at work and all that. Get that first one under your belt, maybe stay there for a few years. Maybe you get a really solid one. But start preparing for that now. Network with people, reach out, and then find someone and be honest, because on the other side, you're going to have to tell them everything, all the details. So don't sugarcoat it, own up to it. Don't skim over anything, because if they find out more details, then they're just going to see it as, you're kind of greasing them up. But as far as advice to other employers, do your due diligence. Obviously, you want to know that they're not in a situation that, maybe if they have done, certain crime like theft, and you have a heavy cash business, maybe don't put someone in that kind of temptation situation. But other than that, I mean, we did it for a call center. So we were, they could have sold supplies and, limited client information, payment information, things like that. Got to monitor the calls. You don't want to expose your business to anybody, really. You should be monitoring all this stuff anyways. But the one thing that I would say is, versus hiring someone off, let's say Craigslist, not saying you hire off Craigslist, but versus hiring someone off the street who you don't know, they're not in a system, at least someone who's coming out of prison and they're in a halfway house, it's a sober environment. You don't have to worry about what they're doing when they leave, because they go right back to the halfway house. They're monitored, they're drug tested. Like someone's already babysitting them. They're making sure that they get to work. Like, this is the person you don't have to worry about. They don't have, Cinco de Mayo and then no show the next day. It's actually a pretty reliable source, or I should say it's a source of reliable people. I haven't had any issues where any of our guys have been kicked out of the program. Dan's situation was the only one where there was any kind of interruption of work. Other than that, you're talking to, their PO or whoever their handler is, their contact.
Basically, I was the only guy that screwed up, is what he's telling you. Yeah,
Dan's the only flunky. But despite him, we still brought on another gentleman at Fit Food Trash. I'm not going to blow his anonymity, but we've only had good situations with these people, and they know the risk at stake. And again, speaking to the employers, this person is looking at this as a much bigger opportunity than anybody else. They don't have the luxury to jump from job to job to job. They want that one job where they can build that credibility, build that resume back up, get some distance between them and that. So this is someone who's going to be with you for the long haul. They're not out there jumping from job to job to job. And I mean, like I said, I might be biased. We've had somewhere short of a dozen, and they were all good experiences, very appreciative people. And it was something that, made me feel good too, because I knew I was giving people a second chance. And, I feel that we're all this close. We're all one bad day, one bad decision away from some real repercussions in life. And, we got to see our fellow man as, us, and, kind of be who we wanted to, who we would want to be engaged with. We got to be that person. Sean's got a question. Live in Oakland in a sober house. In Oakland, California. We're in Florida. There is Oakland Park, Florida.
No, he's in California. He was referring to, because he knew I was working remote. He was asking if you guys are hiring any more remote positions. No. I don't think we're hiring for anybody right now. Honestly, with COVID and everything, while we still are in operation, everything is very slow right now because of the economic impact. So
it's we're very blessed and fortunate to be operating, so we're not complaining. But unfortunately, yeah, we're not taking it.
Definitely worth a shot, Sean. And that's the thing, guys. Is
that's what it takes, man. We could have been hiring a few months from now. Hit us up.
There.
Yeah, when things recover, hit us up, man. I mean, if whatever.
And this was so if you guys if you remember back to some of these older videos, this was a video that I posted.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this was from my office, or from Casey's office, working for Fit Food Fresh, on my spare time, posting videos, federal prison, RDAP questions. This is around the time that you guys first started watching my YouTube channel. This was back in January, 2016. And for those of you that want to go back and watch that video, I just posted it in the comments. But this is what gave me the ability to do what I'm doing today. Don't think you're just going to get out of prison and go 100% get the dream job. There's a lot of limitations that the halfway house will present. Certain jobs you're not allowed to do from the halfway house. A lot of commission only jobs you can't do. Self-employment jobs you can't do. Maybe there can be some consideration made where you can go get permissions, but you have to be prepared to take a job that you might have otherwise thought was potentially beneath you, or something that you would not want to have done. I was glad to have a job. I wasn't Casey, I was grateful to have a job. And
yeah, we didn't pay much. We were a broke startup at that time.
Florida minimum wage. I think it was actually it was paying more than minimum wage. I think I was making $10 an hour working for you guys.
Yeah, 400 a week.
Yeah. So but I was grateful to have the opportunity, and that $400 a week job kept the halfway house off my back. It allowed me a few free hours a day I was able to go to the gym, work out. I was able to start my YouTube channel. So you have to kind of use whatever is in your corner to your benefit and make that lemonade out of those lemons. My job was easy because I worked with people that I respected and that I liked working with. Casey and Steven, that's his partner, and all the other crew that were there at the time. It really provided a solid opportunity for me to get my footing back. I was in a state that I'd never been to before. I'd never been to Washington. The only type of jobs that were really available were like climbing up on roofs and swinging a hammer, which I've never done before. I'm not going to lie and sit here and say I have all this experience as, manual labor. It wasn't something that I've done. I was willing to do it, but people weren't hiring somebody that had no expertise. And then with the thought of the halfway house needing to go out there was a lot of mental roadblocks to get past. And this is what we work with so many of you on in our consulting packages and the mindset coaching and creating these courses. It's all done to get you going down the right path, to realize that fast money that maybe you were making and cutting those corners or whatever got yourself in trouble, whether it was white collar crime or blue collar crime, you don't want to go back to old ways, and you have to create new habits and create a whole new streamline of thought processes. And you need people in your corner, but you have to be willing to put yourself out there and realize that even though it might be a little bit harder for you, maybe you're going to get an additional amount of no's before you're going to get to a yes, but it still comes down to simple mathematics. It's still going to be a numbers game. And if you're willing to put yourself out there enough, and each time you get a no, go back, try again, find out maybe I need to revamp my resume. Maybe I need to reapproach on what my interview skills are going to be, rethink what I'm going to say when they ask me questions, make better eye contact. What are you wearing? Each time you get a failure of an interview and you're turned down, what can you do better to present yourself the next time, instead of just justifying and saying it, nobody's going to hire a felon? Because that bullshit self-defeating talk, that's what keeps so many people down and keeps so many people going back into the prison system, because it's very easy to become the victim and blame everybody else for shortcomings. And again, if it wasn't for Casey and them, I still would have succeeded in life, but I might not have my YouTube channel and my prison consulting business. So Casey, thank you for the job.
And if you hadn't done it, then I wouldn't have my YouTube channel, and I'm thoroughly enjoying that. I'm having a lot of fun doing that. So it's all a circle, man. It's all a circle. Speaking of Casey's YouTube channel, guys, this is the. And didn't you originally hire me at that first call center? Yeah, full circle there. Guys, don't forget, here's a link again. I'm posting it in the live chat.
go over to Casey's YouTube channel if you have not already done so and subscribe. Even if you're not interested in starting a meal prep business, it's cool content. He talks about some really neat stuff, and he's going way deeper than just meal prepping. He's talking about lifestyles and making better choices and better habits,
mindset, habits, all sorts of stuff. I started with the meal prep niche, and I am now consciously branching out because there's a lot of stuff that I've been wanting to talk to my followers, but since it's just the meal prep stuff, I was kind of in that tunnel vision. But now I'm getting to some of the stuff that I've kind of mentioned about philosophy and mindset, and in general, more generalized, not only business principles, but just everyday life habits and stuff like that. They've been asking for more of that. So I'm going to probably do more kind of mainstream mindset, because mindset's huge. And right now, what you're facing, 100%, it's a mindset game. So you've got a challenge, set before you. You got to make the most out of it.
Casey was actually one of my character reference letters when I was preparing my letters to the judge. It's funny. I went back and read all of my letters, and well-written letter, but this is why we're in business for what we do, because it was just a glorifying letter about what a good guy Dan is and what a good father he is. And it's all the other letters that we read. It was very well written. But this is why
I think it was long too. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like,
yeah, nobody does. And that's the thing. People are going through this so blind. Guys, you got to watch for a video I'm dropping tomorrow. I don't know what time it's going to be, a pre-recorded video. I did a podcast on a gentleman's podcast the other day. And the podcast is called What Was That Like? This guy, Scott Johnson, did an amazing interview with me, and he really made the interview. Like, I got to be the one getting interviewed, so it sounds like I was the one doing all the work, but this guy really asked the right questions. And it goes through my whole journey from what I was doing prior to my indictment, how I got indicted, what that process was like, getting ready to go to prison. What were those thoughts like? A lot of you that are dealing with it, and it was able to let me rehash a lot of the old thoughts. And he just dropped it the other day. He sent me the link, so I turned it into a video that I'm going to post on here tomorrow. Any of you that are getting ready to go to prison, you'll watch this, you'll listen to it. It's an 1.5 hour podcast, so maybe do it on the way to work. There's no video to watch. It's just all audio. But you're really going to relate with what so many of you are going through right now, because all the questions he was asking me, it's like, this is every question that a client asks. He was asking point-on questions that you guys will really find a lot of value in, and the answers and where I was, what I went through, and where I am now, that transitional journey, it still blows my mind to see how my mindset was then, watching some of the videos that I did right before I went to prison. So I think you guys definitely want to pay attention for that video tomorrow. I'll send out a link for it. I'll send out a text message. Make sure you're on my YouTube text message list. If you want to get that text when I send it, just text the word YouTube to 76626 and you'll get that link when I send it out tomorrow. But I was really happy with the outcome on this, because I know this is what you guys are going through. I can sense it right now. The whole COVID thing, the video that we talked about last night, the new norm in prison. It's not a pleasant time to go to prison right now. There never is a pleasant time. But so many of you have been mindsetting and getting ready to go, thinking about what you're going to do to eat up your time and how many times you're going to walk the track, exercising, taking all these classes. And right now, that's something they're not doing. And that may not come back in any near future. That may be something that's months and months out, or even years, by the time the BOP is comfortable enough to take the risk off of their back and really let, social encounters become a normal thing again. So there's going to be a huge period of time. I just got a call from a client. Get this, Casey. One of my clients just got released. Female. They sent her to a hub while she was waiting to be transferred to the halfway house. She's in prison and they have so many inmates and so many people that are dealing with the COVID-19 that they put her in a room with a sheet separating men from women. Never have I ever heard such a thing in the prison system, where you have inmates, men and women, only separated by a sheet. I can't imagine being a female in a situation like that, thinking there's men right next door and there may not be a whole lot of supervision. All kinds of problems could be proposed from that, which I'm hoping to talk more to her about the stories. But I'm hearing horror story after horror story right now. This is why those of you that are getting ready to go into the prison system, if there's anything that you think you might be able to do that you haven't done yet, Don't leave any stone unturned. Definitely give us a call, book a consultation. In the description of this video, there's consultation links that you can create a free consultation with me to find out what you might be able to do to potentially reduce the sentence you think you're going to receive, or maybe even throw that Hail Mary and find the ability to receive either a home confinement or some sort of a probated sentence. But it's not going to happen just by pure will. You're going to have to put in the work and the effort. And sometimes it's realizing that one of the biggest roadblocks we have is thinking, I don't need anybody else's help to solve my problems. That is a wrong thought process to have, because you're going into a tunnel, into a journey of uncharted areas that you've never mined before. You need to have somebody that can navigate you through this to give you the least path of resistance that can create the best possible outcome, serving the least amount of time, and maybe not serving time at all. So don't forget to book your consultation to find out what we can do for you. Casey.
Yes, sir.
Anything you want to leave people with that are getting ready to go look for a job or getting ready to hire a potential felon that you don't think we touched on today? And we can do many more of these videos because we both like doing YouTube videos.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that covers all my thoughts on it. The networking thing is, if you're going in, try to set up, plant those seeds now. Maybe make some YouTube videos like Dan did and see what happens when you get out. Maybe you'll be famous like him.
You know what's funny? I wish I could find the video. So when I was working at a different office well before I went to prison, after I was in trouble. I think I was Googling something about prison, and I found this guy that said, I'm getting ready to go to federal prison. And I listened to him talking like, man, this is exactly what's going through my mind. And I think maybe that's what made me make a YouTube channel. I think subconsciously that's what it was. I saw this guy post his fears and concerns on YouTube. Did
you call it RDAP Dan at first, or is it just like Dan?
No, I didn't start the RDAP Dan thing until after prison. The RDAP came from, I didn't even know what RDAP was before I went to prison. And just like many of you don't know how to navigate. You don't know what you could do to shorten your sentence other than what your attorney's telling you. And not that your attorney's telling you wrong information, but the average criminal defense attorney, whether it's a private paid attorney or a federally appointed attorney, most of them do not dive a whole lot into the area of mitigation beyond your plea deal. They don't really know much about RDAP. They don't know much about the First Step Act. They don't really even seem to think there's a whole lot of purpose for personal narratives and reference letters being done a specific way. They don't talk about the importance of a pre-sentence investigation until it's like, hey, you've got your PSR coming up in like 4 days. This is what I need from you. It's impossible to prepare with that little notice. So the clients that engage with us, that hire us early on, you're getting so much, you're getting so far ahead of the curve that by the time it's time to do these things, you're like a trained professional. You know exactly how to present yourself. And it's not scamming the system. It's not taking advantage in a bad way. It's educating yourself. If I told you you're going to go take a test, and I'm not going to tell you what the test is about, I'm not going to tell you any of the questions on the test, just meet me 3 days and I'm going to give you a quick 30-second conversation and then go test you on knowledge that you've never studied before, you have zero chance at coming out successful. Our job is to prepare you for this test, because this test is a bunch of moving parts that ultimately will have you standing in front of a sentencing judge. And that's when all of your past transgressions are going to come about. It's almost like once you go and you stand in front of God and God's like, well, this is how you lived your life. If you don't have a guide to live by and you just think you're going to get lucky, it doesn't work that way. Not comparing myself to God, just to be perfectly clear. Just using the example of you need to prepare. But yeah, that's really all I got. Casey, I really want to thank you again for joining us tonight. I love doing the live shows, guys, because we can just free talk, and there's you just never know what rabbit hole we're going to end up going down. And Casey and I have some crazy conversations. We actually went jet skiing today together.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Feeling very beat up. So we took the skis out, went and enjoyed our time, and just listen to that. There was a time in my life getting ready to go to federal prison where I never thought I'd be talking about going out and jet skiing or going out on the boat, or, you can. Yeah. What's that?
You mentioned when we were out on the jet skis, we were like, so to set the scene, we're in the intercoastal South Florida, mansions all over the place, giant, beautiful boats all over the place. And I'm just like, man, this is paradise. And he pulls up and he's like, just big smile on his face, just like, this is paradise. Like Wednesday, beautiful weather in the middle of like crazy in you. There's no way you would have thought you would have been here going into facing prison.
No, and we got to see a dolphin, which was really cool.
A dolphin. He cried.
We cried for the dolphin. He was a very pretty dolphin. But yeah, look, and my point is you all want this. Everybody wants to go back to some sense of normal after prison. Everybody just wants to blink and make this go away. But I am walking testament that if you put in the work and you believe that you can achieve greater things than what you think right now, and stop believing every little negative thing you're reading. Stop thinking that, it's somebody else's fault that you're going through this. Let it go. Focus on what you did to get yourself in the situation. Get all this negativity out of you, pop the pimple, whatever you want to call it. Just purge yourself of the negativity and start telling yourself, I'm going to use this as a positive experience. I'm going to make this the very best experience possible. Yes, getting a job is going to be a little bit harder, but you know what? Tell yourself, I'm going to get the job. I'm going to get a job that is going to make me happy. I don't know what that job is yet. I have ideas. I'm starting to plot and plan what type of careers I may be interested in. Do your research. What kind of careers are really advantageous for ex-cons? Well, what type of jobs can you get in the halfway house? If you start prepping now and start doing your homework now, that's going to be one less thing that catches you by surprise. And the moral of the story is, don't take the fucking potato chips out of the vending machine if the glass is broken. Just don't do it. Because you go back to 27 days. Well, guys, that's all I got. I want to thank you guys again for joining. I want to thank Casey Cochran from Fit Food Fresh, co-founder. Guys, Casey the student. Go check out his YouTube channel.
Links to my YouTube channel. I'm sure you're going to just put all over the place.
Yeah, man.
Another thing, I got to mention this. The other day when we were working out, you actually said you kind of miss prison. So it's not all bad. You said you kind of miss prison.
Yeah, but not right now with what's going on with COVID. I would not. One more time, there's Casey's YouTube channel. Yes, guys, I told you this. My prison experience was overwhelmingly positive. Yeah, there were some negative aspects. You miss family. You miss some of the
uncertainty. The fear and the anxiety is from the uncertainty. But once you get in, it's not going to be as bad. And then you just there are no problems. There's only situations you need to learn to accept or change. If you can't change it, you got to accept it. And the sooner you make that decision, the more at peace you're going to be. So accept it, make the best with it, prep for it now, and try to make yourself, plant those seeds now so you got something to harvest when you get on the other side of this.
That's like a mic drop right there. There's really nothing left to say.
All right, later.
So community's method, people up people, one day at a time. I love you guys. Look for the video tomorrow with the podcast. I'll give a link in there. Casey, appreciate it. You guys all have an amazing night. Peace.